Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 11 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we used this really powerful team featuring Swagger, Defensive Thundurus with Eerie Impulse and Scary Face, Lumberry Landorus T, Nasty Plot Rotom-H, Ditto with Focus Sash, Umbreon, and Substitute Bulky Zacian. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Details for the team are in the description below. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by The Ridge. The Ridge makes some really awesome lifestyle products, and their most popular one is the Ridge Wallet, which you can see right here. It's a super simple and minimalistic wallet. You're able to fit up to 12 cards between these two metallic plates, and there's also a band or strap for cash here in the back. Super easy to use as well. You slide out your cards using this little indent here on the side, pull out whatever you need, and slide back as such. I've been using the Ridge wallet for over a year and a half at this point, and it continues to be my go-to wallet. I absolutely love it, but if you don't believe me, there are over 40,000 5-star reviews for the Ridge wallet alone. Right now, I am on their website at ridge.com/VGC, and you can see all the different kinds of wallets that they have. By the way, you can use code VGC for 10% off your next order. This is my personal favorite one. It's the carbon fiber one, but yeah, as you can see, it comes in all kinds of different designs and colors. I always like to shout out the Ridge and their other products as well, especially their line of backpacks, which I use personally when I commute to work and when I travel as well. And I actually just got the weatherproof commuter backpack, so I'm excited to trying that out. But I've linked my favorite products from the Ridge down in the description below, so thank you to them for continuing to support the channel, and thanks to you all as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get started. First game of the day, and we're up against rank number 17. I love their username, and I love their team as well. Latias Lapras. Okay. So Lapras Zacian was like one of the more dominant archetypes in the very beginning of Series 8, so it's not super surprising to see that. Although it feels like Lapras kind of fell out of popularity when like Charizard, Venusaur, and Colossal kind of overtook it. But it's still really, really good, right? So the Latios is really cool. Typically, you should expect things like Tailwind, Icy Wind, Ally Switch, which makes Landorus' life very difficult here. So I'm thinking that Rotom should be our primary Dynamax option. Thundurus is really valuable thanks to the Eerie Impulse. This is where I wish I had T-Wave instead, just to permanently slow down that Zacian, but that's okay. One of the main questions, though, is whether or not the Zacian is play rough, because if it does, it makes Rotom's life a lot more difficult. Like, the thing is, I have to worry about Latias plus Lapras as a lead. I'm leaning towards Thundurus, Rotom, Zacian. It does feel a little bit odd not to bring Landorus into this matchup, because offensively it's actually really good. It just has to worry about Lapras and the Latias. I'm going to go with Ditto in this one, but I think you could very easily make a good argument for Landorus. Like, depending on my opponent's lead, Thundurus plus Landorus can actually win really hard. So I mainly didn't want to lead that because of Latias just being speedy, and then Lapras obviously being able to one-shot Landorus with a, with the G-Max Resonance. But they go with Zapdos and Zacian. So this is exactly where like Thundurus plus Landorus would have been amazing, right? Because they probably could have just swaggered and then gone for like a Max Quick turn 1. Now the problem is, what moveset do you have on that Zacian? It's like, do you have play rough or not is the main question. I can Scary Face here. It's just such a gamble as to whether or not they have play rough. So is there anything I can, like, would they have play rough based off their team info? I'm really not sure, but how do I even play around a play rough? I guess it would be to Dynamax Rotom on turn 1 immediately. I could do that, actually. I could just Max Geyser and T-Bolt the Zacian. I just don't know if that's enough for a knockout. I honestly don't think it is, but it stinks because like Nasty Plot is so good here on Rotom if like they don't target Rotom on turn 1, but if they have play rough and they target Rotom and I just faint, I just lose the only possible option I really have to Dynamax, right? Like, then I'm literally stuck just Dynamaxing Thundurus, and that doesn't seem worth it. And since I don't have Protect on this Rotom, I think I just can't risk losing Rotom on the first turn. So it's like, it's fine if they don't, you know, go for a play rough onto it, but I have to cover for that option. Ha! Oh, it's Zapdos protecting. Okay, nice. I thought it was Zacian protecting for a second. Okay. They do have play rough, but they target Thundurus, but we're actually bulky enough to survive, so that's huge. This in essence, maximize my damage output for the turn. I actually think Geyser does get the knockout there, and if it does, now I've set up the rain for Rotom as well, which is amazing. Let's see. Okay, beautiful. That was really scary. That was a crit, but I don't know, based off how much damage Thunderbolt did, and this is Thundurus with like no offense at all. Rotom is Dynamax, it's a max move, stronger base power than Hydro Pump, and Rotom has special attack investment. I think we would get the knockout there, but it may have been a damage roll that turned into like a guaranteed knockout thanks to the crit, so yeah. But I don't know, Thunderbolt just did a lot there. It did like, what, 40%? So I'd be surprised if Geyser wasn't finishing off there. Yeah, maybe like 30-35%. Either way, though, that's obviously amazing. We just got rid of our opponent's Zacian, which is a good start. Latias is coming in now. Okay. I could Scary Face, but if they Tailwind... Oh, you know what we could do? We could Scary Face the Latias so that Geyser goes off before Tailwind. That doesn't really make much of a difference, actually. We've got Zacian and Ditto in the back. And at this point, what is my opponent's last Pokemon going to be? Like, do you just max the Zapdos right now? Because honestly, I don't mind going for an Eerie Impulse onto the Zapdos because, like, most of their attackers in the back are special attackers. I do think I'm going to max Lightning this turn because I could see a world in which Zapdos switches out into Lapras. But they're just going to Dynamax it, which is totally fine by me. I mean, I guess actually it could be Latias maxing, which would be really cool, actually. But yeah, turn 1 was just really nice because we got rid of the Zacian immediately. And now I get an Eerie Impulse off into Zapdos, which is also incredible. So I feel like we are in such a commanding position right now. They very smartly enough did go for Play Rough onto Thundurus rather than Rotom turn 1. So it's one in which, like, I could have greeted and maybe gone for Play Rough, but since they had Play Rough, right, if Rotom gets targeted there, I just can't Dynamax. And I just don't think it's worth it to lose my Dynamax option like that. So, Latias is going to go for Icy Wind. That's fine. That does cover for a Landorus switch in, so that's smart. But now they have a -2 Zapdos, so I'm not nearly as scared in terms of your damage output. And just go for Max Airstream as well. Okay, so I think they were just covering for a switch out, but that does no damage into Rotom. And truthfully, I think Rotom just has a really good matchup into my opponent's team overall. The main thing to worry about was the potential Play Rough from Zacian, but we were able to eliminate that from the field immediately. And it's actually a more offensive Zapdos, which is pretty interesting with Life Orb, so yeah. I don't think Geyser was going to pick up the knockout there anyway, and I didn't mind covering for a Lapras switching because it would hard win us the game should they like switch into Lapras. Okay, so now I can just get my Zacian for free, I think. I could use Ditto to copy the Zapdos as well, but I feel like Zacian in this spot is really good because I have Play Rough, and I can just target the Latias with no cost at all, since we should outspeed it. Okay. It's so nice to use a Rotom and not have to worry about missing your moves. Dynamax is the ultimate buff. I'm just going to Play Rough the Latias here and then go for a Geyser here onto the Zapdos slot. I would think Play Rough one-shots. Oh, they actually just end up forfeiting. Okay. So I'm going to quickly do the damage calc with the Max Geyser into Zacian. Just because I'm really curious. Like, I was thinking if they were like max HP Zacian, Thunderbolt and Max Geyser wouldn't KO, but if they were just offensive, like max attack, max speed, I would think let that always KO. So I want to pull up the calc and just learn that really quickly, just because I honestly am not sure off the top of my head. So it looks like Max Geyser from Rotom into no bulk Zacian does 57.7% to 68.4%. Now, it looked like their Zacian had taken around like 35 to 40% of damage, closer to 40, I would say. So what this tells me is that Max Geyser indeed was a damage roll there if we don't get the critical hit. It's a damage roll that's in our favor, but I think it's only in our favor because we also got a very favorable roll with Thundurus and Thunderbolt initially. And so, yeah, what that means is that against a no-bulk Zacian, it's not a guaranteed knockout with T-Bolt and Max Geyser. Which is fine, you know, that's what I was thinking, because I was like, okay, if they're max HP Zacian, there's no chance we're actually picking up the knockout. So at the end of the day, basically the critical hit just ensured that we picked up the knockout rather than having to deal with the potential damage roll. But we were pretty lucky to be in the position that we were to begin with, just because Thunderbolt actually did that much damage. Like 35 to 40% from a Thundurus that has no special attack investment is certainly impressive. And that's what leads me to think that Zacian has, you know, no bulk whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, picking up the knockout on Zacian just accelerated the game so much faster. I'm not sure I would ever change how I played turn 1. We did get lucky in the sense that my opponent protected the Zapdos rather than the Zacian. They easily could have switched that around. But yeah, like Thundurus surviving there was also a really big deal because it offered us Eerie Impulse Control into Zapdos or Scary Face into Zacian. But of course, something like a crit can be super frustrating, especially because it can just, you know, mentally give you an advantage against your opponent. So yeah. It was one that we didn't like necessarily need, but it ensured that we picked the knockout, and we were in a position to not actually even need it because we had a high roll with Thunderbolt initially. So it's always good just to learn these calcs because it can, you know, impact how you play against these Pokemon in the future. And now I know, okay, well, if I go against Zacian in the future, even against No Bulk Zacian, Thunderbolt plus Max Geyser is not a guaranteed KO, so I have to, you know, keep that in mind. I don't think it would have changed how he played turn 1 of this game, but definitely something that, you know, is a scenario that you're going to run into pretty frequently. So yeah, good to learn that, and let's keep it going. Next match of the day here, and this is an awesome team. Kyurem-W, Blastoise, Ninetales, Arctozolt, Incin, and Tornadus. Okay. When I say Tornadus, I normally assume Rain Dance. I feel like Rain Dance is just so good in this format thanks to all the sun that's running around. I mean, Zacian is one of the best restricteds to have against Kyurem. Like, Xerneas would be another one. Xerneas actually be really nice in this matchup, but it's not as common in Series 8. If I'm my opponent, what am I bringing? Arctozolt scary? I'm just sad because we haven't been able to bring Umbreon at all, but I also don't think this is the match for it either. I feel like Thundurus is still valuable thanks to Eerie Impulse, especially against Blastoise. I'm thinking we go Thundurus plus the Zacian, Rotom in the back, and then Ditto as the 4th. Don't love Umbreon here just because it doesn't deal that much damage, and my opponent has a lot of good burst damage, whether it be Blizzard or Max Hailstorm, and then G-Max Cannonade from the Blastoise as well. I think this is just the worst possible matchup for Landorus because they have 5 things that can hit it for super effective. 5 if Tornadus is Icy Wind, otherwise it's the top 3 and then Kyurem. And then Umbreon's just too passive in this one. Like, I think Umbreon typically wants to come out in matchups, like, go on for, you know, multiple turns against teams that are a little bit slower paced, teams that don't have, like, huge burst damage immediately, and against Pokemon that are maybe a little bit bulkier because you can disrupt with Yawn. The issue here is I just don't think Umbreon really has enough time to, like, stay on the field, and I need more damage from the rest of my Pokemon, especially because they have a pretty good typing matchup into us here. Tornadus and Blastoise, I'm fine with that. And the reason I'm fine with that is because Eerie Impulse on Thundurus here is just so good. Now, with Blastoise turn 1, you can go for a Fake Out. That's fine. I am willing to go for an Eerie Impulse into the Blastoise slot. And just play rough. Actually, why would I play rough? Behemoth Blade. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, maybe Blastoise clicks Fake Out here. I think that's fine. Tornadus setting up Tailwind isn't that much of an issue when I have Eerie Impulse and Scary Face on this Thundurus. One other interesting route I could have taken is attacking around the Blastoise, right? So, sorry, attacking the Blastoise and leaving Tornadus out on the field, saying, well, your Tornadus isn't going to do much after turn 1, so I can kind of just ignore it. But I also don't mind just picking up a knockout onto it and forcing a switch in, especially because right now there's only one Pokemon that applies offensive pressure damage-wise, and Thundurus is able to just neutralize that immediately with an Eerie Impulse, so yeah, they're just going to max turn 1. That's totally fine with me. Like, this is the beauty of Eerie Impulse. It is, like, kind of hard won us both last game and put us in a really good position in turn 1 of this game. Because it's like, yeah, Blastoise will get the Cannonade off. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to deal nearly as much. And then the thing is, I can switch into Rotom to neutralize how much Cannonade does in terms of residual effect as well. So they just go for Tailwind, no problem. Yeah, Tailwind isn't an issue if you can't, like, KO me before I attack anyway, right? So get an Eerie Impulse off there. Fantastic. Already down to -2. Now I expect Life Orb here and Cannonade into the Zacian, but let's see. There's Cannonade coming out. And did they target Thundurus there? I think so. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. We take even less damage than I would have expected. I mean, they were probably just reading into a Zacian Protector switch into Rotom. They're not Focus Sashed either. Cool. Yeah, Sash doesn't make much sense when you have Ninetales on the team. If I had to guess, Ninetales was the one that's Focus Sashed, but I mean, that puts us in a really nice turn 1 spot, right? Like, This is the thing, in a Dynamax format, you're going to need answers to neutralize max threats, and so that's why like Eerie Impulse is really valuable because of the amount of special attacker Dynamax Pokemon that you run into, especially things like Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, Colossal, Lapras, like all these good Gigantamax forms are lean more towards special than physical, right? So Kyurem comes out. Scarf Kyurem is one thing to watch out for, but I've got this, like, because what I could do here is just Scary Face into Kyurem, and then just Behemoth Blade it as well. So then the question is if you're Scarf, but if you're Scarf, like, can you really knock the Zacian out? Okay, they go for Protect. That's a good Protect. That's fine, though. Like, it's another turn of their Dynamax down, and I have multiple turns of Dynamax with the Rotom-Wash waiting in the back to play towards, right? That also means you're not Choice Scarf, which is a good information reveal. Yeah, and we can take another Cannonade and a turn of the Residual, which is amazing for us, so just puts us in such a nice spot to neutralize Blastoise's damage output this early on in the game. And this is where having bulky Zacian is also really nice. I could substitute here. Or just Protect. Incin being their last one makes sense, but if Incin's their last one, Rotom should just win the game, especially with Dynamax. So honestly, here I'm down to just go for a Scary Face and a Behemoth Blade. I think, like, you could make the argument to protect your sub, and yeah, Kyurem switching out here makes a ton of sense, and that is going to be Ninetales. Okay, cool. So they'll pick up a double KO here, potentially, like Cannonade plus Hail plus, what do I want to say? Cannonade plus Hail plus the residual from, or the amount of damage you actually do from Cannonade. I would think maybe knocks out Zacian, I don't know. We'll see. I don't actually think it's enough. Wow. Bulky Zacian for the win here. This should be Focus Sashed, right? Let's see. Yep, there's the Sash. Okay. So I could have substituted there, but I don't mind just forcing a switch out and either getting a knockout on a Kyurem or dealing a lot of damage on whatever comes in, right? That seems fine to me. And this is the beauty of having a Zacian that's as bulky as it is. We take 3 turns of Cannonade, an actual -2 Cannonade, and a turn of Hail, and it's still enough to survive, which is amazing. I think we can just go on in a Rotom now. I mean, with Ditto, I can copy the Ninetales. I'd rather just copy Kyurem with this, though, if I can. I guess I can't guarantee that. Oh, also, Ditto would copy the speed drops, which I don't like. That's one thing to keep in mind. Like, I guess the one thing to watch out for right now is that I can't deal too much damage into their Kyurem with Rotom. But it's fine, right? Because Zacian should just finish it off. So let's see. It's their last turn of Tailwind. Honestly, I think here what we can do is just Dynamax, go for a Max Lightning onto the Blastoise, and then switch this out into Ditto. Because Zacian hard wins against Kyurem, right? Even if we have as low HP as we do, it doesn't matter. All we need is the smallest amount of HP to win the game. So, like, yeah, Ditto is a little bit less essential here, but I think we still needed to bring it because I don't think Landorus or Umbreon would have offered us anything in this position. They could protect Blastoise here, but if you protect Blastoise, like, at this point, there's no good speed control, and we know that it's not Scarf Kyurem in the back. So my Zacian will outspeed everything. The only thing to watch out for is a Shell Smash from Blastoise here, but that's why I want to Max Lightning it here, right? Like, Ninetales isn't really scary. Yeah, you can Aurora Veil. Sheer Cold would be, I guess, the one thing I'd be nervous about, but... Oh, Hydro Cannon, that's cool. But that does no damage, yeah. It makes sense, though, right? That's your best possible play to just try to eliminate it from the field. But I think now we should just win the game because, one, Blastoise just doesn't have any damage here, so even if you survive Max Lightning, that's fine. Oh, it's Wakandberry. That's cute. Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense, honestly, because, like, you think about the number of Electric-type Pokemon, or Electric-type damage that's around in the format, there's a decent amount. But the thing is, because they committed Hydro Cannon there and they went all in on knocking out Zacian, now I can just knock out Blastoise, right? So that's exactly why I wanted to switch out. Ditto generally has less utility for us in this match, because, yeah, it's not like copying Ninetales or Blastoise would have that much value, and then, like, we couldn't really copy Ninetales in that spot anyway, right? So now their Ninetales, or Tailwind is expired, they have Aurora Veil up, but we know that the Blastoise cannot attack, so we can Max Lightning here. And we get to see their moveset. Cool. Yeah, so this is actually a more defensively oriented Blastoise, but it makes sense for them to want to max it because you can't really max most of the other Pokemon on my opponent's team. I can't go for a Yawn here. I mean, I can, but Electric Terrain is up, so there's no point in going for it. So I might as well just pick up the double knockout here. And then Zacian hard wins against Kyurem. This is a really cool team for my opponent. I think we just generally had a pretty favorable matchup. We were able to stall out our opponent's Dynamax well, and truthfully, like, Kyurem is such a hard Pokemon to play in this format because Zacian is just one of the best restricted Pokemon. And it just limits your ability to use Kyurem substantially, right? Like, Zacian will just one-shot it with the Behemoth Blade, so it creates, like, such an easy win condition for Zacian, and unfortunately makes it a lot tougher and, like, decreases the win conditions that the Kyurem team has. So, props to my opponent, because I think it's a really cool team. And, yeah, the Wakan, Yawn, Blastoise stuff is really neat as well. But ultimately, when you're not using something like a Life Orb, your damage output is, you know, obviously stunted, and that gives us a significant advantage. So, yep. You know, it's funny because I was talking about copying the speed drops, but I, of course, just copied the special attack drops here in the end. But, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't really matter here with the Zacian in the back. Zacian's a guaranteed win. Okay, they're going to protect. That's fine. I went for Geyser just to change the weather because I don't want the hail around. And Kyurem resists both, and Rotom doesn't take advantage of the terrain being up anyway. So, like, it's fine, right? I'll just change the weather here. Well, I guess the argument to not change the weather is so that the Blastoise sticks around and then can click Blizzard, but not really dealing much damage anyway. And the whole point is that they have no speed control, and Zacian always outspeeds Kyurem, so this is a guaranteed win. The one thing we need to make sure we do is just, like, not sacrifice Zacian for no reason. So, yeah. Not a just nasty plot here, and Hydro Cannon. Because Behemoth Blade should just finish off Kyurem. Yep, okay, they're going to Earth Power in a Rotom. That's one of the cool interactions that you get to see because of Kyurem, and it is going to get the knockout. But like I said, all we have to do is make sure we don't carelessly switch into Zacian here, because Zacian will outspeed Kyurem. And actually, like, the reason why my opponent's playing this out is because, like, there is a world in which we throw the game, right? And that world is where we switch in the Zacian carelessly. I guess my only question is, like, is Behemoth Blade a guaranteed knockout here on a Kyurem? But they're Life Orb, so there's no way they survive a Behemoth Blade even with Aurora Veil and a Life Orb tick of 10%. So, I don't think there's any chance they're surviving. I can't substitute here. I mean, I could protect, but I'm just going to go for the attack. I just don't think Kyurem survives. Like, you can be bulky with Kyurem, but first of all, it's a Life Orb set, so that normally indicates to me that you have less invested in bulk, and I would just assume max special attack, max speed. And even though Aurora Veil is up, I just don't see this surviving, so we'll see. And that's the downside for Kyurem, right? Like, against a lot of other restricted Pokemon with the Aurora Veil up, Kyurem would actually survive, but unfortunately into Zacian specifically, it's just not the best matchup. And one thing that did make this game a little bit easier is my opponent did not bring the Incineroar. Like, if they actually had Instant over Tornadus, this might have been played out very differently. Just because, like, speed control wasn't as scary thanks to the Thundurus, and Thundurus was able to neutralize my opponent's lead super, super effectively, which was also really, really good for us. So Irium plus Thundurus has definitely been, like, the MVP today, but Rotom has been amazing as well, and it's, yeah, nice to just see how reliable of an option it can be. So, yeah, fun 2 games to get it started, and let's look for one final one. Final game of the day, and Diggersby. I feel like we've seen some pretty cool support Pokemon in Team Preview today. That's actually a really scary Pokemon to go up against, but generally I think Rotom is very good into my opponent's team here. So they have Tailwind. Who's their Dynamax option going to be? Could be Rotom, Diggersby, Thundurus, even Tornadus potentially. Rain Dance here on Tornadus also makes sense because then you can, you know, like, it would help against Sun teams. And then Dracovish could just fish his friend. It's just been a rough couple of episodes for Umbreon, so I'm sorry, Umbreon, but I'm not sure this one's for you either. Their team does lean more physical than special, but if it's Defiant Thundurus, then Thundurus doesn't really get very much value. Zacian. Like, Zacian Rotom for sure. I'm just trying to figure out who else to bring. Because Intimidate's still valuable, but maybe not that much. And also, like, I feel like I really should be maxing Rotom here. Yeah, I lean towards Thundurus Rotom lead with Zacian and then Ditto. I mean, maybe I bring Landorus over Ditto in this one. Popping another Zacian is kind of sweet, but yeah, I actually will go with Landorus here. Mainly because I'm just trying to think like what I can actually get value out of copying with Ditto in this game that's like strong. I guess the best answer is their Rotom-Heat, but like I don't even know if they bring Rotom-Heat because I have Rotom-Wash. And like I don't think Ditto really cares about copying Dracovish or Tornadus or Thundurus. Like a lot of my opponent's Pokemon are like especially strong when Dynamaxed. Okay, they're gonna go with Tornadus and Dracovish. I think I'm generally okay with this. I lean towards a Scary Face into Nasty Plot turn 1. This covers for... Yeah, they're gonna go for Tailwind, which is fine. So the question is, who are you gonna click Vicious Rend into? But like, let's say they... I think a lot of players often respect Thundurus as the max option with this lead rather than Rotom. Okay, and they're not Scarf. So yeah, even if you're Vicious Rending here, I get the Nasty Plot off before you get it off, so you're not really gonna deal that much damage into it. There's Rend. Cool, goes into Thundurus. Perfect. Alright, great turn for us. We get a +2 boost immediately. Just really good. Can one-shot most of my opponent's Pokemon at this point. I've got Landorus in the back. You're at -2, so I actually should outspeed you now with Thundurus and Rotom. I guess the one thing is that Tornadus could have Icy Wind here. I don't think I need a Dynamax this turn. Especially with Landorus and Zacian in the back. Yeah, like, we know that they're not Scarf Dracovish, so I'm down to just Thunderbolt here, because I'm not at risk of taking too much damage. Okay, they go for Taunt, that's fine. Cool. We get even more value now. I could have double Thunderbolted into Tornadus, though, is the one thing, because it might be Sashed. Or even doubled up on Dracovish, but I wanted to spread my damage in case Dracovish switched out. It's not Focus Sash. Cool. Alright, that's an amazing start to the game, honestly. I'm very pleased about that. And just another Ren into Thundurus. Cool. Thundurus has done its job in this game. Support Thundurus was amazing for us today, so I'm just generally very happy about his performance. So now the question is whether or not to go into Landorus and Zacian. Normally you would think Landorus, but the risk in bringing in Landorus is if they have the Thundurus in the back, and then I just intimidate a Defiant Thundurus. So I'm going to go into Zacian first, because now I can max the Rotom. And yep, there's Thundurus. Cool. Now, the one thing to watch out for is activating the Rain via Max Geyser, because then it's a little bit awkward. But because Dracovish is at -2, we'll just outspeed it even though they have Tailwind up. So, I mean, I would think Thundurus maxes right now, right? The only thing is I don't want to necessarily max Geyser into this slot because I don't want to set up the Rain for Vicious Rend into the Zacian. So, like, I rather would go for Play Rough and Max Lightning here into the Thundurus slot. I guess they could double up onto my Zacian as well as part of the problem. How many turns of Tailwind are left? 2. Dracovish really isn't that scary, though. Oh, but they could Airstream Vicious Rend, right? Okay, I'm actually going to knock out Dracovish here. I don't think that's the play. Thundurus doesn't max? Okay. What is it doing if it's not Dynamaxing? I don't know. It could be Support Thundurus and they were going for like T-Wave and Vicious Rend. Could be a Scary Face or Eerie Impulse onto my own Rotom. But now I'm frustrated because I think I would have just won the game if I attacked with both Pokemon this turn. Electroweb. Okay. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah, cool. So they were going all in on trying to knock out Zacian. That makes sense. So I survived the turn, but had I just knocked out the Thundurus there... I mean, is it AV Electroweb Dynamax Thundurus? Like, that's my main question right now. Maybe I should have brought Ditto in the back. I feel like if I had Ditto in the back, we'd be in a better spot. Because Landorus, like, this is the awkward thing about not KOing the Thundurus. But, like, what kind of Thundurus set is it is my question now. Okay, what's the field state? I have one more turn of Dynamax left with Rotom. No, I have 2 turns of Dynamax, sorry. I've got this Landers in the back, which is good against Zacian. And they haven't Dynamaxed yet, so you would think Thundurus Dynamaxes now. You could go for, like, Airstream and Behemoth Blade into this slot. I don't know if that would KO, though. Okay, I'm gonna try to knock out Thundurus this turn. Now I can set up the rain since Dracovish was KO'd, but... Huh? So I guess it's just supportive Thundurus, and, like, they just didn't Dynamax? And, like, didn't have a good candidate to Dynamax? Because, like, I think with that team, Rotom-H and Diggersby are the primary Pokemon you want to normally max. Okay, I'll take it. I decided I wanted to play a 4th game since I didn't realize how short the first 3 games of the day were. So, yeah, we're going to look for a 4th here, and we're up against a team with Spectrier, Metagross, Rillaboom, Ludi, Kyogre, and Incineroar. I feel like we've honestly gone up against some really cool comps today. So their team definitely indexes more on special attackers, with Ludi, Kyogre, and Spectrier. Could be support Spectrier, with Bolto's weakness policy on Metagross, which was something we used to see. Thundurus is again going to be amazing here. Rotom has to worry about both Rillaboom and Ludicolo. There's a world in which we just Dynamax Landorus in this game, though. Like, it's not a bad option. As weird, as like counterintuitive as that might seem. Part of me kind of wants to just lead Ditto for fun. It's honestly an interesting option because they have 2 fake out users we could copy. I guess the problem is if they lead like Ludi Kyogre and I copy the Kyogre, but like, I don't know. I'm actually kind of down for a Ditto lead here because I want to bring Ditto, but I don't like love leading Zacian or Rotom here. So normally leading Ditto is not very consistent because you have no idea what it's going to copy. But in this game, I'm honestly down to copy anything. Like copying a Rillaboom or a Ludicolo is nice because that just counters their Kyogre immediately. Copying a Spectrier is nice because then I could utilize its attacks and also figure out what its moveset is. And one thing that's kind of underrated about Ditto is using it for utility and just like seeing what your opponent's sets are, right? So, unfortunately, we would have been in such an amazing spot if this was reversed and the Ditto was on the other side because I would have just copied the Ludicolo instead. But I'm still happy to see kind of what the Kyogre set is here. So, let's see. Okay. It's mainly the Ludicolo that we're going to want to watch out for here. Got Eerie Impulse, which is valuable into either of these. Okay, you're not choiced. You've got Thunder, though, which is scary. And Water Spout. You could just fake out Water Spout or Giga Drain turn 1. Ideally, we knock out Ludicolo. I could also switch Ditto out right now into Rotom, but they might just Giga Drain this slot, right? Okay, I'm down to start off the game with the Eerie Impulse and a Kyogre and a Protect. Actually, I need a cover for Fake Out into Thundurus and then a Water Spout. Yeah, they're going for Fake Out. Okay, it's just risky if they lose the Speed tie. That was a really risky play by them, but it's going to end up paying off very handsomely for them. Although it's actually fine because it doesn't even KO Thundurus. But yeah, like if we just end up outspeeding there, your Water Spout literally does no damage. So, or not no damage, but it's not doing much at all. Frustrating, but it happens. We know Kyogre outspeeds us. This can just Giga Drain us now. But you can also just Scald the Thundurus and then Thunder here. What's their Dynamax option? You would think Ludicolo. So I'm actually down to Eerie Impulse into the Ludi here. Scary thing here is actually they have Origin Pulse, right? So they could click Origin Pulse, meaning I don't have a safe switch in right now. They shouldn't max Ludi this turn. Okay. I'm gonna go for a Protect. Get the free switch in into either Rotom. Okay, Kyogre switches out. That's actually pretty good, I would say. Into Incin. Now that's very interesting if you're not knocking out my Kyogre this turn. Or sorry, not knocking out my Thundurus this turn. Actually, even if you knock out Thundurus and you give me a free switch in into Rotom, it's amazing. Yeah, they don't max Ludi. That would have been a dream to see, but you have little incentive to actually go for a max there. Okay. We get the Eerie Impulse off. And they Energy Ball into Kyogre. Okay, that's not bad. Now you would think, like, it's not Life Orb Ludi. Incin can fake out, and then Ludi can switch out, or he can still just go for an Energy Ball into the Kyogre slot. I wouldn't mind copying their Ludi later on in the game. And I think Ditto switching out into Zacian is relatively safe right now. So, I'm down to Scary Face here. Actually, I'm down to just Scary Face and Origin Pulse here, honestly. Okay, they're going to go for Fake Out. Yep, targeting Kyogre. Okay, I wonder if Energy Ball KOs. It probably still does, right? Even at -2, because we're at half. So, it may have been better to go for another... Yeah, they go for another Energy Ball. Okay, so I could have switched in Zacian there. Oh, but we survived. That's incredible. Okay. Because now I get an Origin Pulse off this turn, which is huge. They're also running out of rain. Okay, I'm down to T-Bolt Ludi here in Origin Pulse. Actually, I'd rather get the knockout onto Incineroar here, I feel like. Just guarantee the KO onto it, and it can maybe survive an Origin Pulse, so yeah, I'll double up onto that slot. Eliminating Incin is really nice considering... Oh, actually, we're faster with the Kyogre. Okay. Oh, sweet. Okay, that just gets the KO anyway. Cool. I just wasn't sure in case they were Assault Vested, and that was a critical hit, so a lot of instants are going to be like max HP, max special defense. Okay, go for Energy Ball. That's fine. Ditto really did its job in this game. Like, I got so much utility out of it. I just eliminated the biggest threat to the Zacian, which is super, super sweet. It's not AV Ludi either, and I get a Paralysis. Wow, that's a really lucky turn. I mean, I don't think I needed either of that, but once again, like, the mental factor is a big advantage, and obviously puts us in a spot where now we have more room to work with and more plays that open up for us. So, definitely lucky. But I honestly was very happy about the game state, even if, like, we didn't crit the Incin and we didn't get the para there. Just because, like, I got so much utility out of Ditto, right? Like, being able to just knock out Incineroar by in itself, like, I think even if you're a Berry, and they bring out Metagross, okay. Now, Metagross is actually going to be a pretty scary Pokemon to go up against with the Zacian in the back. Ludi's at -2. You can always switch Ludi out, but now with them being paired, they're in a really, really awkward position. I don't think we bother Nasty Plotting here, because I don't think I need it. So, like, I'm down to just Thunderbolt the Metagross, Dynamax Rotom, and then just Max Lightning into Ludicolo. Because we know that the Kyogre in the back shouldn't really threaten us. We'll actually set up the Electric Terrain here as well. Actually, that doesn't matter, because Rotom doesn't take advantage of the terrain. But I think if you're my opponent now, you have to Dynamax the Metagross. Yeah, if Ditto copied Ludi early on, that would have been so fun, just because then we would have had something that could pressure my opponent's Kyogre, but it's fine. Like, this Thundurus is amazing, right? The fact that it can survive a +1 play rough and a Water Spout in rain, like, this EV spread just is so amazing, and this is why defensive Thundurus was really one of the best sets in 2012 and 2013. Okay. So, we are going to max our Good Pal Rotom. I think you have to max Metagross, right? I mean, I guess you could max Ludi, but you're -2. Oh, okay. They protect. That's a good play. That's a very good play. Double Protect? Bullet Punch. That's cool. It actually does get the knockout. That is a really good play, actually. And I could have hard won the game if I just Geysered into Metagross this... No, actually, I don't know if it's a guaranteed KO, so I wouldn't say it's a hard win anyway, but... Yeah, and, like, we knew that Ludi wasn't AV based off the Thunderbolt damage earlier, so it having Protect does make a little bit more sense. That being said, it is kind of tough to fit Protect onto a Ludicolo's moveset, generally. Because you want, like, it has Fake Out as well, so Fake Out and Protect is interesting. It's Energy Ball and then probably just, like, Hydro Pump or Muddy Water. Because of the Paralysis now, it's like even if Ludicolo switches outspeed with Zacian. But they actually have a couple turns of Dynamax to play towards right now, so that's nicely done on their end. I'm going to go for Sub here, and then Lightning into Ludi. Because Metagross is really walled by Rotom unless you have Max Psychic. And if they're running Bullet Punch, say it's less likely they have Max Psychic. Now, the thing is, they could Max Quake a bunch, right? But Rotom can just Nasty Plot in the endgame. So in this spot, like, I'm fine just playing defensively, and this is where Substitute on Zacian is super, super clutch for us. But that was a great Protect. I think if they don't Protect that last turn, they're in a really tricky spot, because then you're just forced to bring out Kyogre immediately. And I also wasn't expecting Bullet Punch, so I was expecting to get some chip damage off before fainting. Okay, so we'll successfully get Substitute up. And we should just get the knockout here onto the Ludicolo. Yep. I just, like, don't feel the need to target Metagross right now. Also, if it's Bullet Punch, I would not be surprised if it's actually AV Metagross. I'll go for Max Quake, that's fine. Yeah, like, I feel like the a couple of small tricks on this team have been so good for us throughout the 2 episodes. Substitute on Zacian has been absolutely amazing in stalling out our opponent's Dynamax, and then the Thundurus with Eerie Impulse and the Scary Face has also been fantastic for us. Okay, so Kyogre comes back out. It's going to set up the rain, meaning we'll do more damage to Metagross, but I think here I'm willing to just go for a Protect. And then just Max Lightning into Kyogre. Maybe Kyogre protects, but then Zacian will just outspeed and KO it next turn. The idea right now is to force a 1v1 between Rotom and Metagross. If Metagross does not have Zen Headbutt, it completely gets walled by Rotom. And even if it has Zen Headbutt, we have Citrus, and we're still fully healthy, so we won't take much damage. Yeah, so they go for Origin Pulse here. This is why you don't want to substitute this turn, because if I sub, Origin Pulse just breaks the sub, and then Metagross just KOs the Zacian. But now, I'll just knock out the Kyogre freely. So, our Dynamax is over, but that's fine. Yeah, Sub Zacian is just so nice to stall out opposing Dynamaxes. I would think it's policy Metagross still because they had that Spectrier, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Because it totally could be Life Orb Spectrier and then like use Spectrier as a Dynamax option instead. Cool. Okay, Dynamax ends on my end now. Now, what could be valuable for my opponent is if you actually do have Zen Headbutt and you saved it. That would actually be really cool. I think it's fine to sub here in Nasty Plot. So, we'll see if they have Zen Max Psychic, basically. That's the question. If they do, they actually will win this game. It's just that most Metagrosses don't. So, how well equipped are you to deal with Rotom? I also could have, I guess, gone for Ally Switch here, because you would think Rotom's the obvious target in this spot. But no Mindstorm comes out, which is good. So it's like, yeah, Metagross is boosted now, but I feel like if you're not Mindstorming there, it indicates to me you just don't have it. Otherwise, now, even if you have Zen Headbutt, you won't one-shot Rotom. And I'm not even sure a Max Mindstorm would one-shot Rotom from this range, but it would depend on the Rotom spread. Cool. So we saw their Dynamax. Now they are at +3 special defense, which is a little bit scary, but it's fine because once again, Rotom's not in too much immediate danger, and I still have my Citrus Berry. So I don't want to sub here because they can actually Bullet Punch, so I'm willing to just protect here and Nasty Plot. And the idea is that my opponent now is going to feel the pressure, right, of having 2 Pokemon out on the field at the same time. So Zacian's just doing such a good job stalling out my opponent's Dynamax. They do not go for a Bullet Punch, so that's a good play by them. Let's see what it is. Oh, just Earthquake, okay. Yeah, I feel like they're focusing so hard on targeting Zacian, but the funny thing is that Zacian doesn't even have damage in a Metagross because I don't have a Sacred Fire or a Close Combat. So I'm just able to like neutralize all this damage from it. Would I rather Behemoth Blade or Play Rough? I mean, it's obviously just Blade. 1 attack, +4, 2 turns of rain, +3 special defense. I'm just going to go for Thunderbolt here. I want to gauge how much damage it does. Because I think it might be AV Metagross. And if it's not, then Thunderbolt might just be a 2-hit KO with Behemoth Blade on top of it. So it's an endgame position where I don't really want to rely on missing any attacks right now. Oh, that's great damage. I think T-Bolt should be a 2-hit KO here, even if they're Assault Vested, truthfully, but we'll see. Nice. Okay, it doesn't look like AV, and they just EQ again. Yeah, they had nothing for Rotom outside of Ludi and Rillaboom, which makes sense, because those are both really good Rotom answers, but the fact they did not bring in the Rillaboom was a good start for us. Yeah. And then, like, that was the idea behind leading Ditto, because I was, like, fairly sure my opponent would want to go with one of Rillaboom or the Ludicolo, and even if neither of those come out, even copying, like, a Spectrier or a Metagross is valuable, once again, because Ditto just seeing your opponent's moveset is really valuable. For example, if they don't have Protect, that typically indicates that they are going to be Assault Vest or Choiced, and there are a lot of potential Choice users on my opponent's team, or AV users. Ludi could be AV, Metagross could be AV, Kyogre could be Scarf, Kyogre could be Specs, so getting some early information on that is generally pretty valuable for us, I would say. So, yeah, we definitely got a little bit lucky this game, where we had the Origin Pulse crit on the Incin. Not sure if that mattered, but we obviously also got the Paralysis on Ludi, which made things easier. But I'd say Thundurus continues to be the MVP with this team, as it's able to just disrupt so much. So, yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised at how strong this team is. I mean, I lost against it, obviously, a couple days ago, but the Thundurus and the Rotom combination has actually been absolutely amazing. And the swagger stuff you can do with Landers is also really fun. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Thank you to The Ridge for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.